For everyone who thinks that folks who live in Las Vegas actually live in a casino hotel, that is not true. For those of us who live in Las Vegas outside the Strip, we love this place, the Clark County Museum, where we can see the history of Southern Nevada and what came to be Las Vegas. The address, 1830 South Boulder Highway. You may need your GPS to get here because the highway signs aren't too good. But once we're in, this great big sign greets us on a beautiful day in Las Vegas. Admission to the museum is a whopping $2 for adults and $1 for seniors and youth. Entering the museum, we go past a bunch of brochures about what else to do in the valley and a couple of statues, postcards. The lady behind the counter takes the money, and there are a few souvenirs to be purchased. This life-size cutout shows Mark Hall Patton, the administrator of the museum. You may recognize him because he's been on numerous TV shows as an expert, including Pawn Stars. He often comes in to authenticate items brought to the pawn shop to find out whether they are real or not. Hall Patton has been in the museum business for 40 or more years, and at this museum for 20 plus years. He is a history buff and is surrounded by history books and can research just about any item that he comes across. What you will learn as you start at the museum is how the area once was covered by a shallow ocean and somehow later turned into the desert that we know today. There's lots of information here for folks who really want to get into the nitty-gritty. And this is a depiction of a dire wolf, which is a predecessor to today's gray wolf. Pretty fierce-looking animal, not too different from some dogs I know. This is a skull of an animal that used to be in the area called a camelop. These are food grinding stones used by early residents of the area. One of the signs indicates that the problem with grinding cornmeal here was that bits of stone would get into the meal and ultimately ruin the teeth of those who were dining on the cornmeal. To the Paiutes, the desert valleys and surrounding mountains were a treasure trove of food, clothing, and shelter. This diorama depicts a small encampment. The woman is wearing a rabbit fur robe for warmth and a basketry hat to protect her head. Well, I don't see that hat. Oh, there it is on the ground. The baby is wrapped on a basketry cradle. Before the Union Pacific Railroad discovered Las Vegas as a place to stop for water, the area boasted about 6 different ranches, one of which was owned by a woman named Helen Stewart. And there is a Stewart name all over Las Vegas. Not a lot of extras here. This is a depiction of an early home in Nevada. This diorama is a depiction of a mining camp by Las Vegas Creek, and this may have been how folks lived when they came to Nevada looking for gold. And this part of the exhibit talks about slot machines that eventually made Las Vegas famous. This exhibit talking about Las Vegas as a marriage capital mentions that Mickey Rooney got married in Las Vegas, looks like 8 times. Part of the History Museum is also an art museum. with watercolors and pastels and explanations along with each picture. Back in the corner of the museum are a couple of carts. I don't know whether they belong to museum staff or they can be used by visitors. This is a small museum, though, so I think most folks can walk around and not get too tired. In addition to the main museum, this is one of the most interesting places to visit at the Clark County Museum property. This is a street where a number of older houses have been moved, and they have been decorated with period correct items, and they are changed. The decor changes with the holidays, the seasons, etc. Very interesting to visit here, and at the holiday season they had a couple of nights where everyone could come free and see all the decorations and enjoy hot chocolate, etc. So come visit and look at the homes. This is the Beckley House, circa 1912.
Las Vegas's early years were difficult at times, but the Beckleys devoted themselves to the economic and cultural growth of the area. Their home is a center for social activities. Over the years, the Beckley House became a local landmark because it was the last pioneer home left in downtown Las Vegas. Since the house could not be preserved in its original location, it was moved to the museum in 1979. Renovation has returned it to its appearance during the 1920s and 30s. We hope you enjoy your tour back into a part of Las Vegas' history.
This is a desert cooler that is on display in the Beckley House, and let me get a little bit closer so I can read. During the early 1900s, many southern Nevada residents did not have an ice box like the one exhibited in this room to keep foods from spoiling. They constructed a box covered in wire and burlap known as a desert cooler. A water-filled bucket with small holes in the bottom allowed the water to seep out and wet the burlap. The cooler was usually kept outdoors in the shade. Air blowing through the wet burlap kept certain kinds of food, such as eggs and cheese, cool enough to slow spoilage. The wooden legs were placed in cans filled with water or oil to stop ants and other insects from climbing into the cooler. Well, well, well. How'd you like to keep your eggs and cheese in here? This is the Babcock Wilcox House, Boulder City, 1933. Most of the houses have this sign on the front door. Please close the door after you enter and when you leave. It keeps out unwanted critters, dirt, and leaves from getting in the building. Thank you. No food or drinks inside the building. This house was built during the Boulder Dam construction area, so the museum here focuses on that. The Boulder Dam, the pictures, and if you want to know all about that era, come to this house and read. It is quite a magnificent construction project, Boulder Dam. And dangerous work. This is the Townsite House, circa 1941. Townsite House has its own mini museum in one of the rooms, complete with the kinds of headlines that were around during and after World War II. This is the Townsite House kitchen, and interestingly, the open shelving I see on Home and Garden TV as something brand new. This scene reminds me of my grandfather's house because he had a bird cage and birds also. He had a much larger dining room table for big family dinners, but here we have a young man passing the time playing solitaire. This wagon wheel reminds me it's probably time for me to start rolling on home. However, there are many more houses to visit than are in this video and many more exhibits to see. I would also commend people to go to the Clark County Museum Facebook page and watch 2 videos by Mark Hall Patton, and you'll learn a lot about the Las Vegas Valley. In the meantime, I'm going. See you next time.